and obtained a value of 137.8, okay, for the index. And like we said, you interpret this as an additional, that's an increase of what? 37.8% increase, okay, currently as compared to the base year price. Okay, now let's move on and then compute the value for purchase index as well. Okay, purchase index uses the current price times the current quantity, okay, over the base price times the current quantity. Okay, that's the difference. So those are the computations that are made up here. Current price, like I said, this times this will give us that. So 3 times 20 gives you 60. 2.5 times 40 gives you 100, and so on and so forth. Whilst we have base price times base quantity. So this will be the base price times the quantity here gives you this, okay? Good. Then once you are done, you divide what? This is the numerator over the denominator. So that will be 365 over 330, okay? And that computation is seen in the next slide. So we can see that will be 110, okay? So which means that the purchase index suggests a 10.6% increase, okay? Good, in the current price as compared to the past, okay, or the base price. Good. Now for Fisher's is the computation of the, how do we call it? The square root of our last year's times the purchase index times 100. Okay, so you just find the square root, okay, and put those statistics in there, and that gives us 123. Okay, so you can see it's midway between the last year's and the purchase index. Okay, so you just find the square root, bring the last year's index times the purchase index times 100%. Okay, and that gives you the value, which is a 23% increase, okay, in the value of commodities in the current year. Okay, now let's move on. Yes, the next thing we want to look at is simple price average of price relatives method. Okay, now price relative means just comparing prices and expressing them in 100. Okay, good. Now how do we go about this whole thing? If we need to compute the index, first you find the price relative, which I've said of the current year, and that is the current price divided by the past, the base year price times 100. Okay, then the next thing is find the summation, the sum total, okay, of all price relatives you have computed. Okay, then the next thing is you are going to find the aggregate, the aggregate just like the mean, divide the total by the number of what? Commodities. Okay, that's step 3. Okay, and then finally that gives you our price index for the current year. Okay, if we are using the simple average of price relatives method for computing what? The index, okay, price index. This is the steps you follow. So let's take an example. We have the commodities, the prices of commodities in 2007 and in 2006, and we have to find the price index, okay, using the simple average price relative methods. Okay, for 2007, taking 2006 as the base period. Like we said, the first thing is to find the price relative. Okay, so you create a column where you look at the price relative, which will be the price in 2007 compared to 2006. Okay, Good. You do that for all the commodities and then you sum it up. Okay. So that's the step 2. Good. So this is how the table is going to look like. So we have prices in 2007 for commodity A over the price in 2006 for commodity A. So this will be this divided by that times 100% gives you this quantity. Okay. Then you do same, this divided by this, that gives us the various price relative and the relative pricing. Okay. Then once you are done, you sum the total up. So that will be 150 plus 125 plus 120 plus 110 plus 130 gives you 635. Okay, good. And that is the quantity in the numerator for the index. Okay, good. Then we have number of commodities at 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we find the aggregate price relative, okay, to give us the price index. Okay, and that will be 635 divided by 5. And the answer is 127, okay, for an answer, which means that there has been a 27% increase, okay, in the prices of commodities, right? Now, what you notice from here is quantity has not been provided. The weights, okay, of item has not been provided, okay, in this computation. So it's not a weighted index number, okay, that you need to take note of that. Yes, we have another example here. This time we don't have different commodities. We have the same commodity, let's say for rice, okay, for rice or for yam. Let's say for rice. So in 2003, the price of rice is 60. 2004, the price of yam is 70. 2005, price is 80. 2006, price is 90. 2007, price is 100. Okay. And you have to calculate the price index, okay, for the given commodity, okay, using the various years as base, 2003, 2006, and then 2003 to 2005 as base year. Okay, how do we do that? Let's look at a computation. Good. So using 2003, this is what we're going to get. We have price relative will be what? Of course, that is the base here. So 60 over 60. Then the next one will be 70 over 60 times 100. This year will be 80 over 60. So everything should be referred to the base year, okay? So 90 over 60, 100 over 60 will give us the various price relatives here, okay? Good. Then we come to price relative for using 2006. So this time, this is the base year, right? So you're going to have 2003 compared to the base year, which is 2006, 70 divided by 90, 80 divided by 90. So 90 divided by itself will be 100. And then 100 divided by 90 times 100 will give us 101. So that is how we compute the price relative using 2006, okay, as the base year. Now, moving on, the next one is to use 3 years as base year, okay? What you do is you find the aggregate of the 3 years, okay? So you pick the 3 years, which will be from 23 to 25. The prices were 60, 70, and 80. Add them and divide by 3, okay? They are 3. So add and divide by 3, that will give us 70, okay? And then use 70 as your the base value, okay, or the base price. So this will be 60 when you are computing for the price relative. It will be 60 divided by 70 over 100, 70 divided by 70 over 100, 80 over 70 times 100, 90 over 70 times 100, and 100 over 70 times 100, okay? That is the third method, okay, of computing price relatives. Now, moving on, I don't know if there's any question on this section. If there is any question, you can raise your hand. Any questions so far? Okay, let's move on. So you notice that with the simple aggregative method, okay, weights are not provided. The weight of the item is very important. The quantity, when I say the weight in terms of quantity, or relative importance of that item are very important. Okay, good. So if you are comparing commodities and you don't provide the weights or the quantity of the rice or the quantity of the yam, okay, just use prices of the yam and the rice, then we are going to get, let's say, yeah, we get an index, but it is really not reflective because we don't know the relative importance of the various commodities, okay, in the computation of the index. Good. Then again, there is influence of, okay, outliers because it's a simple aggregative method, okay. Values for items which are very huge tend to affect the index that have been computed. So let's say if yam, the value of rice, yam is very high, it ends up affecting what? The computation of the index, okay? So it begins to look like everything has really shot up, but it is just a rice. And again, we didn't give, because we didn't provide the quantity or the weight of the rice, it becomes, it doesn't really give a true picture of what the price increases, okay, on the market. Good. Now, the next thing we want to talk about is various types of index numbers, which are usually computed, okay, to make decisions, right? The first type, in Ghana, we have the CPI, we have the PPI, we have the industrial, okay, and the wholesale price index. So we want to look at the CPI. The CPI is just like, it's a last year's index, okay? Good. So what is CPI? We are saying that CPI numbers are intended to represent the average change over a time in the prices paid by consumers, okay? Good. This index is also called cost of living index number. Good. To study the effects of rise and fall in prices of different commodities on different classes of consumers, okay? Commodities are classified into food, clothing, energy, rent, and so on, okay? So in Ghana, you see there are different classifications that are made. In terms of food, even food items, I think now they are breaking them down. Okay, then in terms of clothing, in terms of fuel, in terms of fuel, in terms of oil sector and all that, there are computations in the CPI. Okay, good. Then more on that, we say that CPI, or the consumer price index number, measures only changes in prices, okay? It measures the rate of change in the price. That is what it measures. It is not a value of the price itself. It just tells you how the price is changing, the rate at which the price is changing. Good. Now, CPI only tells us how much the consumer of a particular class will have to pay to get the same basket of goods and services at a particular point in time, okay? Good, compared to a base period, right? Good. CPIs are constructed separately for different classes of people or groups or sections of societies. Okay, I think we've said this already. Then CPIs are constructed based on the basis, or are constructed on the basis of the following. We can have an aggregative expenditure method, okay, which uses the last PS. And then we can also have the family budget or the weighted relative, okay. But in Ghana, we use the first technique, which is the aggregated, okay, method or aggregative method. Good. Importance of CPI, very important. It helps us to negotiate for wages, okay. If prices of things are going up, then in other words, we need more to purchase the same item, which means we'll have to go back as a labor, okay, force to the government and renegotiate what? Wages, okay. So wage negotiations are informed by measures of the consumer price index, then also measures for changing purchasing power, okay. Good. So if I use 10 cedi to purchase bread in 2000 and in 2020, okay, that 10 cedi cannot purchase the same quantity of bread today. You may have to double it. Now it's the 10 cedi bread wasn't even 10 cedi. I think it was those 5 cedi, like the quantity of the A1, the size of the A1 was about 5 cedi. Now you buy it for 16 cedi, okay. So you can just the same quantity, 16 cedi. So you can just imagine the inflation rate, okay, on that particular item. Now we're also talking about helpful in analyzing markets. It tells us how the various markets are going in terms of industry, in terms of agriculture. I mean, various sectors tells you how the prices of things are going. And of course, it also helps government to determine what policy to implement, okay, within the country. Good. Now we want to look at the two techniques. The first one is the aggregative method, which you have already looked at, okay. Good. So aggregative method is the last PS technique. You've seen that already. And the family budget method is also stated below. What you do is you find your price relatives first. That will give you the P, okay. Then you measure the price relative with the value weight. The value weight is the price in the base year times the quantity in the base year. That will give you your fee, okay. So first find price relative, that is P. Then find the value weight, which is what? Your price in the base year times the quantity in the base year. Multiply P with fee, okay. And then find the total, okay. So the total will be the numerator here divided by the value weight again, okay. And then when you look at it, in fact, when you simplify, it's still the last PS, okay, formula. When you simplify all the terms, it still comes down to the last PS formula. But the processes of computation, the steps in computation is different. So let's see the calculation. So we have data here. We have the quantities Q naught. So we have the various quantity here, which is our Q naught here. Okay. And this time the quantity was provided for 2004, but price is not provided for 2004. Rather, you are asked to use the price in 2008 for the base price. So we have P for 2008, okay? And then we have the price in the current year, okay, as P1. Okay, that is how it goes. So for last PS, as you are aware, right, you need to multiply your Q naught with P over, and then sum it up over Q naught times P naught, sum it up, okay, find the ratio times 100, and you get your last PS index. Just a minute. Okay. Yeah, so let's see the computations. So that is what we have here, okay? Let's study the computation. That will give us, this is what we just talked about. So you multiply Q naught times P naught, 2 times 150 gives you 300. 1 times 80 gives us 80. Okay, after that, sum it up to get 920. Then P1 times times quantity in the base here, that will be 2 times 165 will give us 330. Okay, and then 1 times 100 will give you 100. 1 times 150 gives us 150. And so it keeps going like that. So this times this will give us that. Okay, then when you finish, sum it up. Okay, and as you are aware, last PS is just the ratio of the current price times the base quantity over what? The